overview of voting. We use a couple different kinds of voting. There's single choice, which is the voting that most of us are aware of and familiar with. It's the way our elections work. It's choosing one out of many choices. And then the results are usually just based on a percentage of the votes. In Big Green DAO, we've used this in the past for grant round budget selections and governance decisions. Pretty simple and straightforward. A nice variation of this is ranked choice voting, where instead of just a single choice, you can rank your choices. So if your top choice didn't win, you can put some of your voting power towards a second or third choice. So we'll talk about that in the future as it applies to our work. Quadratic voting is the voting style that is most closely connected to what we're doing in the grants rounds. So this is a way there's different ways that quadratic voting and the quadratic formula connects to votes. In our case, for this grants round, each voter is allocated seeds based on how many applicants there are. And you as a voter can choose how you'd like to apply your seeds. And the way that steps up is at an exponential rate. So you can choose to apply all of your seeds to one group, or a large amount of your seeds, or just one. But as you increase it rapidly, kind of following a quadratic curve, it increases. So it gives you flexibility to go wide and go high. And then Markman will talk a little bit more about kind of the ways that we then use the quadratic formula to influence the way that those seeds are then converted into funding, kind of all within the system. And then before we transition on to like getting into the nitty-gritty of voting, just a quick recap snapshot of where we are as a community. Specifically where the tokens fit in. So we currently have 82 token holders. If you look us up on Polyscan, which kind of shows who all of the tokens are, shows the addresses of everybody who has tokens, how many they each have. That equals 79 nonprofit organizations who have claimed their tokens. We have 2 donors who hold tokens right now. And then there's one wallet, which has like the Big Green DAO wallet has all of the tokens that have not yet been claimed. And so when a new organization claims a token, that's the wallet that those tokens are transferred from. And just a quick recap on some tokenomics. The Garden token is equally valued. So every single one has the same voting power, and they are non-transferable. So there's really no intrinsic value to that token outside of kind of proving your identity as a Big Green DAO member. So that really wraps up a quick recap. Before we get deeper into voting, you feel free to share in the chat if you like. You could also keep it to yourself. Let's just do a quick check-in on how you're feeling about all of this stuff, how you feel about voting in this coming round. Just kind of check in for a minute, and any questions that have come up so far, or come up as Markman is talking, please take note. You can add them in the chat if you like, and we're going to be kind of being able to reference all of those and address them all as we get to the end of this section in about 15 minutes. Markman, would you like to kind of get us up to speed on the grants rounds?
Yeah, thank you, Sam, for that nice introduction to the system. We are entering into our 5th granting round. The first 2 rounds were small closed rounds in which the DAO committee and initial stewards of the DAO, entered into partnership with Big Green to, give birth to this organization, this distributed organization. In the second grants round, we also had a closed round where organizations were invited to apply by the DAO committee members. And the third grants round, which you see here on the slide, was our first public call for applicants, where we had 39 different applicants apply with a total of 17 voters. This was a small round, so all applicants were included in a single grouping. As you can see, we were able to give an average of $18,500 per grant to 37 different organizations. And really the primary takeaway from this grants round was that this is something we can do. This is a model that we can bring different organizations into a community to decide how and why to distribute funds to support food justice, security, and growing food in general. From those 39 applicants, 37 of them were able to receive grants and ultimately join up into the DAO. In the next grants round, we also did a public call and we had a whopping 114 applicants, as well as increased, doubled the size of our DAO community members. One of the stipulations for receiving a grant is that you do not have to, although we encourage you to join the community and serve in a position of grant making after receiving a grant. And in this second round, we had 42 total voters deciding between 114 applicants, which was a far broader and greater amount of applicants. So we grouped those geographically. And then we also applied a more specific voting formula that Sam described earlier, which we called quadratic informed voting, which made it so you can either vote, one vote for every organization or all your votes for a few organizations. And in this round, we distributed 45 grants with an average grant of 13,500. We were also able to increase our ceiling in our grant making by modifying our funding algorithm and voting algorithm and grant to the higher level of our range, which was from 10 to 50,000 for each of those grants rounds. As we move into this fifth grants round, we are going to have a similar grouping by region. We are not sure how many applicants we'll have at this stage. I think we have somewhere in the 50 range at this moment in time. We also did some upgrades to the system to improve the user experience, making the results page more intuitive, solving some login issues surrounding wallets versus email addresses. And we're using the same voting system in which each grant maker will receive one seed token for each applicant organization. And as you can see here, you will be able to distribute them either very small for many organizations or very high for a few organizations. In traditional quadratic voting, the more you vote, the more it costs in terms of your voting power. For us, we didn't want to penalize voting strong for an organization. We actually want to incentivize that. However, the quadratic module makes it an interesting way to consider how you vote. So we've made it more quadratic informed. So you can vote, as we've said multiple times, strong intensity or wide breadth of support. As we move forward in this presentation, we're going to show you a demo of how it will look for grants round 5. And then we'll be able to come back together after that for some questions about it. A reminder, each module we will be learning how to allocate seed tokens to applicant organizations. As a reminder, each seed token equates to a relative percentage of the grants round 5 treasury. To begin with, organizations will be structured into regional categories, which show up on the left. For the purpose of this demo, there are 2 regions with 2 organizations each. You are able to navigate between organizations and regions by clicking on the left. To allocate your seeds, you can review the information first in...
Hey guys, sorry, I shared I was playing the wrong video. Let me go back. Are you all seeing Big Green DAO grants round
5 overview?
5 overview. Okay, cool.
Green DAO grant making portal. In this module, you'll be learning how to vote for applicant organizations in grants round 5. The process begins at an overview screen where you will be provided with general information about the grants round, including the number of organizations that are applying, the total amount being distributed, and the amount available for each grant organization. There are also information on our voting and grant making and fund allocation models, which we learned about in previous slides during this presentation, as well as how to track your progress throughout the voting period as you're making your votes. To begin, you're going to want to sign on and enter the platform. To do so, you can click on Evaluator Sign In and then click on Next, and it will take you to the second page describing how to participate in the grants round. Each evaluator or each community member will be allocated seeds to distribute to the organizations. As we've learned, you can provide all your seeds to one organization or distribute them more evenly across various organizations. And this system is designed to recognize both the intensity of support as well as the breadth of support for a particular organization. To begin with, you're going to need to sign in. So by agreeing to the process, you'll be brought to a sign-in screen. If this is your first time, you'll enter your name and your email that you are going to be using for each round and click Sign Up with MetaMask. That will then prompt a pop-up from your MetaMask wallet, which you will then approve. If you are an existing user, as am I, you will click Sign In below and sign in with MetaMask. This will also prompt a pop-up. This is a security measure that I have in place for my system, and this is the traditional MetaMask pop-up. Click Sign, and you are logged in to the system. Click Agree again, and then you can click Next. This will bring you into the grant making side of the portal, which we will go over in the next module.
All right. Switch over to that next one.
Each application module, we will be learning how to allocate seed tokens to applicant organizations. As a reminder, each seed token equates to a relative percentage of the grants round 5 treasury. To begin with, organizations will be structured into regional categories, which show up on the left. For the purpose of this demo, there are 2 regions with 2 organizations each. You are able to navigate between organizations and regions by clicking on the left. To allocate your seeds, you can review the information first in each application and the information provided by each organization. And at the bottom, simply move the slider to allocate the respective number of seeds that you would like to give that organization. As we will see, this number will update on the right and the amount of seeds show up for that organization. Scrolling down, we will see the next organization in the region. Once again, be able to review the information from the application and allocate seed tokens. Once reaching the end of the region, we can click Next, and that will bring us to the next grouping. We can see the information, move down, and allocate seeds. See the total subtracted from our total amount of seeds. In this case, we began with 114, which is based on the total number of applicant organizations from grants round 4 and receiving 1 seed for each organization. In this round, that number will be different based on the total number of applications we have for grants round 5. Moving back to the bottom, I can once again allocate my seeds. If I over allocate my seeds, we'll see on the right side that it says I'm 42 seeds over budget and I cannot proceed. However, moving this down, as you can change your votes after they've been made, I now have 15 seeds left to give. Seeing as I have more seeds to give, I can either go back up here to determine in this organization, or if I want to go back to a previous organization, I can navigate by region or by clicking on their name on the right. I will allocate additional seeds here. And that brings my budget into balance. Now, for example, per se, I wanted to change my vote from support to non-support. For example, this organization did not fill out their whole application. If that was important to me, I can change it to 0. It will update. I once again now have 15 more seeds to distribute. In this case, I'm over budget. Now I have a little leeway in each area. So I want to keep my support for that organization. So I'm going to try to get myself back within my budget. I've lowered that seed by 7. I'm still slightly over. So I'm going to lower a little bit more. And now my budget is balanced. You can hit next to move to the final page. At first, no results will be shown. However, once a critical mass of votes is received, the results page will become active and update in real time. It will show the total number of seeds allocated to each organization, as well as the total number of individual votes that each organization receives. At the end of the grants round, the quadratic funding formula that we use for Big Green DAO will be used to tally the total amount of funds received by each organization, and the results will be published on the same results page. As a reminder, you do not need to click next for your votes to be tallied. They will record and be officially submitted each time you make a change on the slider. You, however, can click next at the bottom of each page. There is no difference between the two. Thank you for joining us for this module. We look forward to seeing how the grants round progresses. And this is an example here of what the grants results look like for grants round 4. You can see the organization name. You can see the total number of seeds that were allocated and the total number of positive votes. So for example, if you look at the bottom here at Black Seeds, they received a very high number of seeds, as well as a high amount of individual positive votes, and they received the near maximum total of the grants allocation. Other organizations that received few amount of seeds and few amounts of positive votes did not receive any allocations. Any type of over allocation is put back into a formula, so no funds or votes are wasted. And this changes the number of seeds and positive votes will change throughout the time, so you can see that. However, the total amount granted will only be calculated at the end of the process.